Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ray, and we are about to jump into episode 7 of season 1 of The Wheel of Time. This is my rewatch. I've already watched the entirety of the first season. I've also read the books, so I'm a book reader, although it's been about a decade since I last read the books. Right around the time, like a couple years after the last book came out. I'm coming to it with some knowledge of the books, but obviously not my full memory of the books. So I don't remember a lot of the like specific particular details, but like big moments and stuff like that I remember. I watched the season episodes 5 and 6 yesterday, or rewatched them yesterday. I've mentioned before that 4, 5, and 6 are my favorite episodes from the first season. 7 and 8 are obviously the ones that were filmed or that were most affected by the pandemic. And so there's a lot of things in these episodes that they had to kind of improvise on and work through. So I am definitely more lenient with some of the things I didn't like about 7 and 8 than say I would be with a different show and a different time. So we're walking into it with that knowledge. Let's go ahead and just jump in. We're going to reacquaint ourselves with episodes 7 and 8. These two are probably the episodes that I rewatched the least. So I definitely need this refresher before season 2. Let's say that. All right, let's go. And yes, we're here at the battle underneath Dragonmouth, Blood Snow, with our, I guess she's kind of a name, but I mean, obviously we all know that she's Rand's mom, because we've watched the show already. And there's Rand in her belly. I love this scene. This is like my favorite opener of the show, for sure. I love the fight with the spears. I definitely want more of this in season 2. When we get to certain characters, especially. Terrible. Did such an incredible job with setting the tone for her Rand's start, everything, like his start. I mean, like his birth and everything. And, like I obviously know everything about her, and I'm just thinking about where she was and where she ends up and like her journey. Which is a fascinating journey.
He made his choice.
Did he? Or did you make it for him?
You know the darkness in him. You know it better than anyone. Do you really think he's ready for what lies ahead?
Of course he is.
So they have to rewrite this part because Matt's actor didn't return for the last leg of filming.
We need to open the way gate. How?
Talking about. We can't just leave him.
We didn't leave him. He left us.
He absolutely
You don't actually
did.
believe that, do you?
But I think his character, it's very easy to believe that he would back out of this, because the whole season he's been reluctant. The further they've gotten, the more reluctant he has been to continue.
There's an inherent darkness within him.
You know, and the more he wants to turn back and go back to his sisters.
On him as much as he was on it.
I do like that they're talking, and it sounds like their voices a little bit. Oh, it is their voices actually. So it makes them feel like it's them. They're saying it to themselves. Our Blitz healer. She got mad. she got scared, and because she was scared, she got mad. And because she was mad, her power unlocks a rage healer, a rage protector. I love that aspect of Nynaeve's power, is that anger, rage, like, awakens it. It's not often that you get a character trait like that with female characters. Like, she'd make a great berserker, you know.
Whatever it was you heard in the wind, put it out of your minds.
Good luck with that. Because the problem is that it's something that they've been thinking or feeling for a long time. So it's because it fed on their actual insecurities, the things that they tell themselves, literally.
While I appreciate your concern, Valdara always has and always will be able to protect its own.
My lord, I can assure you that neither I nor any Aes Sedai doubts your ability to keep the blight.
I should hope not.
He has such a huge chip on his shoulder.
1,000 years. Have fought off armies of Trollocs that would make even an Aes Sedai blush.
The Dark One has begun to use the ways to move his armies.
That took that made him pause.
The Borderlands have a long history of mutual support with the White
The switch
Tower,
up.
but that would not change while the Black Hawk still flies.
I mean, I do respect that he apologized
Thank you, my lord.
and recognized how he was an asshole, you know. But the switch up was like so sudden. He was like, "Oh damn." Yes, and Padan Fain. Love his coat, cloak, whatever, swinging like this. Really cool character. Love him. I mean, he's terrible, but love him.
And while your power may not have been strong enough to become one of us, I hope I might still trust
She
your
got up
discretion.
to accept it and then couldn't, then washed out.
Discreet as I may be, my allegiance lies with this city, not to your Amlin seat.
The Red Aja.
Now, is she just saying Red Aja vaguely, or does she have a specific person that she says after they cut away from the scene? Like, does she have a spy in the Red Aja? Because it would be totally Moiraine to have,
Forget
like,
about the whispers.
an informant
None
in,
of it's
in
true.
the Red.
None of it.
She takes advantages wherever she can get them, you know? Or did she send the message to Liandrin? I don't think
Could have
Liandrin.
sworn I just saw Padan Fain walk past us.
It was
I
there
mean-
on Beltane when the Trollocs came.
Yeah, but my problem with this is that there would be no reason she would assume that. One,
Seems like a different life, doesn't it? Beltane.
she didn't see the whole battle. She got dragged away like halfway through. So she would have no idea who's dead or alive.
Beef.
Actually, she might have gone
Way
back.
to leave is simple. Do no violence. We'd be much better
Like,
off.
No fair.
new clothes and stuff like that, and then went out
I'll tell
to
you
try
what.
and find them.
Dinners with the
Actually,
travellers were better than anything.
actually, now that I'm thinking about it, never mind. Because she probably would have, because she had different clothes on, so she would have gone back, gotten
Any detail would
supplies,
be helpful, no matter how
realized
small.
who was still in town and who wasn't, and who was dead. Oh, figured
Quite
that,
invasive, this.
oh, Padan Fain's not here,
Don't
he
know
must
what
have
I am.
died.
No, no one does,
And then
thanks to the Aes
assume
Sedai.
that. Okay, fair.
I mean, if we revealed what you were, you'd be
All right.
hounded every minute.
I'll let that go. I no longer have that as an issue with this episode. Sorry, I totally talked over the introduction of one of my favorite characters from the books. But I love Min.
The big brooding one has.
They're both big. And they both brood.
Downfall.
She's so beautiful, by the way, Min.
Shh, here she
Yeah.
comes.
So, Min is generally one of my favorite characters. I'm pretty sure I listed my favorite characters.
We leave tomorrow at sunrise.
She's within my top 10, easily.
Oh, was she?
Within my top 10.
That bartender.
Only reason she's
Oh,
not
I've known
in
since she
my
was
top
young.
5 is that there are
Stop
other
lying to
characters
us.
that
You
I kind
forget,
of like a
girl,
little
that I
bit more
cannot.
than her, but from the books at
No
least.
matter how much I
but,
wish I could.
yeah. Yeah, but you can obfuscate the truth. Come on, girl.
She sees glimpses of the pattern.
And you can use the truth as a weapon,
And I hoped she'd tell me which of you is the dragon so I could save the rest.
at least.
You take everything she says as fact. This entire prophecy. The dragon reborn being one of us. We only believe it because she told us it's true.
She can't lie.
That doesn't mean she can't mislead. You think
Right?
she just learned today that the rest of us will die there?
And even if she thinks she's telling the truth, she could be wrong.
She could
About
be
us,
wrong.
about all of it.
There is absolutely
doing this
nothing that, like,
Because Moiraine said we
says, yes.
Or because I'm
She
convinced
absolutely
she
is
even
right.
knows exactly what she's talking about. I want
She
to
also
go
has
to
a
the
point.
eye of the world because if there's even a chance she's right, then it's worth it.
Which is also fair. Like, maybe she's wrong, but
You're
what if
right
she's
then.
right? Like, if she's
let your
wrong,
pride stop you
only
from
I
doing what you know
die.
is right.
If she's right, everyone dies and I die anyway. You know? That's
does
my
too many
that's my
people,
thinking.
right?
And I think that's Egwene's thinking too, which I agree
I
with.
can't lose anyone else in this room.
What if none of us are the dragon? What if it is Matt?
Come on.
What? Why couldn't it be him?
The way she said that was so cutting.
You've never thought much of him, have you?
Rand.
You never gave him a chance. To his sisters.
I
to
mean,
us.
sure,
Alright,
he's
he's
a great
not just
person,
Rand.
but that doesn't necessarily
You
mean
saw
that
his
he's
face
a
just the
dragon.
same as I did.
But it's true. She
Probably
said that
went
in
back
such
to
a
Kavlon,
condescending
bloody
way.
stolen
You don't know anything about that.
us.
Well, I guess you're the expert on that, aren't you?
This argument is really funny because it's so juvenile.
You're the only one.
But
Don't speak to her like that!
it makes sense for their characters to have this
apology for
argument.
what?
So
The truth?
even though I don't like it, I don't
Stop.
love
I
it.
am so tired of you two
It makes
fighting over her
sense.
like she's something you can win.
And then we have this, the crush, that again I genuinely don't think needs to be in this story. They could have had this argument with some slight tweaking without the crush.
Sorry, what?
Personally,
What did you just say?
in my opinion.
I never even noticed.
Oh boy. This is where their like
You proposed to
1920
Lena.
comes
That was
in
the day
to
Egwene
play.
and I got together.
The only woman I've ever loved was my wife.
I mean, that's not true, but sure. Like the way he put some bass in his voice too, like he's like, he will rock your shit, boy. Get out of here. And now the stuff, the insecurity that cropped up from when she was in Machinshin, and it was basically saying you're gonna lose everybody and you can't protect them, and all that comes back here when they all walked out on her, and she felt like she was the cause of the argument. All the land stuff in this episode was chef's kiss. Love him so much. You know, it's so funny because he's not my one of my favorite characters from the books, but I love him every time he's on the page.
wisdom.
He's great. Even when he's being himself, I love him. He's just such a solid character. Such a good dude. And of course, we have him noticing that Nynaeve is tracking him. Because now he's kind of keenly aware of her in a way that he wasn't before. He kind of dismissed her in the beginning of the season. But now he's like always aware of where she is in relation to himself. And of course she's there because she's feeling unmoored after driving everybody away by blurting out the truth. And so she's just trying to find something or someone that provides her stability and comfort. And interestingly, Lan has been her source of stability throughout this journey because she hates Aes Sedai and she feels intimidated by Moiraine. And because she's intimidated, she gets angry, so she gets riled up whenever Moiraine is there. But Lan has been such a stable, force for her, and a stable influence for her because he's so consistent. He's so consistent.
Hello.
You know.
Hello. I was just...
That's why she seeks him out. That's why I think she finds
I don't
comfort
think
in
you rightly
him.
call this tracking.
And he's so good with her. He's so calm, and he's so like unbothered when she be like blowing up.
You're just going to stand there.
Cause she sometimes do be out of pocket, but like.
Or do you plan to? Come in.
We haven't even gotten to the worst of Nynaeve. If you don't like Nynaeve now, let me tell you.
This is Nynaeve.
She's also consistent in
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to intrude.
Please.
and how ridiculous she is.
Have a seat.
She is beautiful. I hadn't noticed.
This is such a cute scene. I love the way they have written Nynaeve and Lan's romance in season 1. They've given us so much more of it. They've done such a better job at leading up to it. And like...
Thank you for keeping my Daishan safe and bringing him home to me.
Giving us a genuine basis for why they fall in love. Like, so good.
Bigger than you?
Showing that he's a provider.
She's enthusiastic.
He'd be a good father.
And she likes you a lot.
It's because I...
And like the way she smiles around him, Nynaeve, because she's always like so intense and trying to seem like she has a lot of authority and, you know, stuff like that because of the way, you know, the way people treated her as a wisdom, as a really young wisdom. So, but around Lan, she like,
You didn't give me much of a choice.
over time has let go of a lot of that. It's not completely gone, but she's let go of a lot of it. And she lets herself feel comfort around him and joy. This awkward ass interaction. They're like, should we say something about this unspoken thing between us? And then he goes, nah, I'm too polite. And slight spoiler for the books, but Lan's people, courtship is supposed to be done with the women taking charge. I don't know how, I'm trying to keep it vague because it's a slight spoiler, but like in his culture, women make the first step, basically, or the initial approach, and then kind of the men like navigate around that. So it makes sense that he would just go inside, and but when she comes in anyway and says, you know, and gives him an in, that's when he finally says yes. So it's like a dance between them. So, in spoiler there. Daniel Henney looking fine. This is a beautiful man. Y'all. This is a beautiful man. With the scars. I know he's flexing. The only thing I want for future seasons is I know this is unfair, but I kind of want Daniel Henney to grow his hair out because I know he has like a hairpiece. I want him to grow his hair out so that he can do more scenes with naturally long hair, so we can see his hair come down sometimes. I really want that.
I room for an hour for you to come and apologize.
I found through hard-won experience that when you're actually ready to talk, you find me.
That was like the most Egwene thing for her to ever say. Like, I think genuinely that was the most Egwene line
I'm
that
sorry.
has been in this show to this point.
I know there's nothing between you and...
Actually, this
dare
whole
you think for even a
interaction
second
is so
that I don't care about Matt?
spot on for how
wouldn't
Egwene is in the
fight for
books.
him.
Especially
Die
this
for
early
him.
in the books.
I was you really think I'll let someone else be yours?
He's gonna go to the White Tower and be her warder. All right. Sure. It's something that he would say, you know.
It's not by you, you know that.
I don't mean to hint at nothing, but this conversation is actually really great when you know, when you have future knowledge. This is a great scene. I actually kind of love that they put this conversation between them in here, because it's going to be the perfect thing to call back to later on. In multiple ways, actually.
You know,
This is an incredible scene. I love this
I
scene
never quite
between them.
understood why you bonded yourself to Moiraine.
And now you do?
You are a king without a kingdom. A boy without a family. And now, you finally belong.
Handing away those kids on you?
Like, look at the way he
wisdom never wets.
navigates, you know, her insecurity, I guess, and her fears and her doubts. But he navigates that with compassion and empathy for her. It's just a really good pairing. I really like them together. Like, genuinely.
Over here!
All right, now here we get this, you know, reveal of all the moments that,
I'll get you there.
you know,
I'll get you to Nynaeve.
prove that he's the dragon, basically. We get the scene of him in the forest. Now in the books, we have this scene early on, like as it happens in the story. So we and Rand understand that he's not Tam's biological son. Like, so it's different. They say, because they wanted to do the who's the dragon kind of mystery for new viewers, they hit all of this
Three men
stuff,
your size, can you break it down?
including us seeing his beads.
You are the dragon reborn.
I don't love that they had a completely different conversation in Machinchen. I guess I can talk about it after this, but
Did you know?
I'll talk about it.
Yeah, so it comes to the territory.
Tam. God, what a scene. This moment of compassion that he has for Shael, and
Snow and blood.
the look on her face when she realizes that he's not going to try to kill her, he's actually going to hold out a hand to help
I saw
her,
a baby born on the slopes of Dragon Mount.
to be a comfort to her. Like, such good acting. And I know that this is like a stunt actress that, you know, impressed everyone, so they decided to have her be not just a stunt actress on the show, but an actor.
Man raised him. In a
But I
wooden
hope we
house
see her
beside
again
fields
in
of sheep,
flashbacks again.
in a sleeping village surrounded by 2 rivers.
Here we go. Now he knows. For sure.
What do you see now? When you look at me.
Rainbows and carnivals and 3 beautiful women.
The carnival arcs. Oh my god. Want to see how they adapt that
I didn't.
stuff.
You seem like a decent person.
Do I make it back?
Well, she can't answer that. That'll influence the outcome.
I didn't think so.
I love all her tattoos and earrings and everything. Like, I love men. I love men, y'all. I'm really excited to see more of her. Well, we know, I guess we know that all of them don't go, but we know that all of them want to go. rather.
Assumed he was with you.
I really like this sleight of hand here, where you think he's about to knock on the door, but actually it ends up being Moiraine, and it was the night before, or early in the morning, whatever.
It's me.
Alright, so we've made the Blight this kind of creeping death to everything.
What is that?
The Blight.
In this
We have to go through
forest,
it
this
to get to
creepy
the end
ass
of the world.
forest. I really, really love the design of this. Looks great. I know it's different from the books. It doesn't matter. It looks great. And it fits the aesthetic of the show and the story that they're telling. Alright, that was episode 7 of season 1 of The Wheel of Time. So, obviously we got the Ways in this one for like the first 15 minutes or so. And then we got to Faldara. And then we got them finally revealing who the dragon is. And then moving towards the Eye of the World, except of course in the show they had to compensate for a couple of things. Lowered amount of people you have to have on set, or you can have on set, as well as Matt's absence. So there are a few things of course adjusted. The arguments about Matt himself and that kind of stuff, I think they did an admirable job of incorporating this real world kind of situation into the story in a way that makes sense for the story. Like, it just makes sense for the story. They also decided to have Rand and Moiraine go to the Eye of the World alone, which I think creates a really interesting bond and intimacy between Rand and Moiraine, which I guess I'll talk about more in the next episode. In this particular episode, we get a lot of Lan and his background and his relationship with Nynaeve takes a step forward. They decide to, you know, hey, we're gonna die tomorrow, let's just do it to it, you know. So they decide to go ahead and just pull the trigger on this kind of what are we doing flirtation, don't know what to do about it, don't know how to talk about it at all. They've been having on and off for like the last 4 episodes. So yeah, I really liked it. I know some people apparently don't like that, but I don't care about those people, to be honest. Them having sex does not in any way diminish or change anything about the story, other than when they have sex for the first time. But all of these characters are older, and they've also decided to make this world a little bit more sex positive. So having sex is not some kind of event, you know. There's something interesting about aging up all of the Emmons Fielders. It changes some of the dynamics in an interesting way. Like, for some reason, I know that Egwene and Nynaeve are very sisterly towards each other in the books, but something about the way they are aged up in the show makes them feel more so in the show, especially earlier on. Like, I don't know, when I was reading the books, especially the first book, I always felt like Nynaeve was so much older. Like, because she carried herself like she was their minder, you know, it felt like less like a sisterly bond between them. Whereas here, they're close enough in age, at least appearance-wise, that they feel much more like, you know, older sister, younger sister. And it's giving such an interesting dynamic for them in the show that I really like. I really, really like. And it's like the scene where she's teasing Nynaeve about sleeping with Lan, and everybody in the room knows that that's what happened. You know, it's not like it's a mystery. That decision to age them up allows for scenes like that and have them not only feel natural, but it kind of gives you Nynaeve kind of put on the back foot, and like her bluster kind of gets contextualized differently, because, and then even earlier in the episode when Egwene confronts Nynaeve and says, you know, if this was anybody but Moiraine, you wouldn't hesitate. And like, she kind of can talk to her in a more equal manner. And it feels not only natural for their characters, but it feels natural for Nynaeve to back down a little bit because of it. Like, she's very like consistent and stubborn in her stubbornness, but because of the perceived lack of a really wide age gap between them, her stubbornness won't prevent her from listening to reason from Egwene in those moments. And I really like that. I really like that aspect to their dynamic. So anyway, I wanted to touch on that because I don't know, it's kind of something that occurred to me during this rewatch of something that I really liked, but I hadn't really kind of thought about too strongly before this, but I really wanted to mention it. Another thing we had in this episode, the introduction of Min. Before we get to Min, because that'll tie into Rand, and I want to save that kind of for last. We also got Machishin playing on everybody's insecurities, and Perrin kind of being revealed to everyone that he has a crush or had a crush on Egwene, whatever. And he has been wrestling with his entire life. I mean, we've kind of seen hints that he was a bit into Egwene before this. There were a couple of moments that could have been interpreted in a flirtatious way if they wanted to. Like I said, I've been very clear about the fact that that's like the thing that I like the least of the show, is the crush on Egwene. Thought it was unnecessary. It, like, just completely doesn't work for me on multiple levels. And that argument, I don't want to belabor this, but yeah, that argument could have been slightly rewritten so that it could happen without the crush. Yeah, I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it. But I mean, it is what it is. It happened. It's the way the story is now. So we just gotta accept it and then think about what does it mean for these characters now. So with the crush in mind, he has all of these insecurities about the fact that he didn't love Layla the way that he believes she deserved. And she does deserve better. And so that has been weighing on him this whole time, in addition to the fact that he killed her, accidentally, of course, but he swung the axe. And then, of course, here, Machin Shin plays on that insecurity to rattle him. And then afterwards, like, Nynaeve accidentally kind of reveals that she's known the whole time. Obviously, we remember, or maybe you don't remember, but from the first episode, she's the one that comes up to him in the inn and says, "Where's Layla? Go get Layla. Go to Layla." Whatever. When she catches him looking at Egwene, so that was like the first hint that he has a crush on her. And it was the first hint that in the series that I had that, oh, okay, he has a crush on Egwene. And then he goes to the forge and puts his hand on Layla's stomach and says, "I love you." And then she goes, "I know," in a completely unconvincing way. Both of them completely unconvincing. So obviously Nynaeve has known this entire time that he has a crush on Egwene, and she hasn't said anything, and just things have been building up as she's noticed things from the side. And of course here she kind of blurts it out because of course she gets Moiraine put her in the back foot earlier in the conversation. She's feeling afraid because she could die tomorrow. She doesn't want to do this. She doesn't want to be here. She's kind of freaking out, but she doesn't want to show it. So she decides to cover it up with anger. That's her go-to. And the argument starts happening, and then the tension is building, and so she blurts it out. And then of course you have Rand going, should have known, or whatever. I don't know. like I don't think he would have noticed that. And he starts, mouthing off a little bit towards Perrin, and then Perrin gets, super insecure still and decides to warn Rand off. So that whole reveal. So all of his, but I think actually it's good for him. Like, it's so interesting. Perrin, this is the second time that Perrin has been pushed to having something revealed about him, something that he feels shame over. Shame in the episode 5 when it was revealed, or he was kind of pushed to reveal that he killed Layla. And then after that, I think he found some kind of catharsis in that. In this, it's the same. Like, he got pushed, or it was kind of forced that he revealed that he had a crush on Egwene. And then the next scene that we see with him, I guess I probably should have saved this for the next episode, but in the next episode when we see him with Egwene again, the way he is with her makes me think that he's kind of let go of the crush. So that's the one thing that I think it both makes the crush unnecessary even more, but at least it feel like the crush is not going to go past this season. I don't think the crush is going to go past this season, thankfully. I think they're going to put it to bed, they put it to bed in the next episode. But so I think that moment of being forced to reveal his crush and confronted about it, it's actually catharsis for him, and it gives him the space to let go of it. So that's such an interesting aspect to his character, that idea that he has to explode, and then after he explodes, he can let it go. He can finally let stuff go. So I wonder if that's going to be a recurring thing for his character in the show, where we see scenes of him being pushed to something, whether it's, violence or just anger or just shame, and then he can let it go. I don't know if it's necessarily healthy, but it'll be interesting if that's a recurring part of his character arc. We get the, I guess, let's talk about Min. Let's talk about the ways a little bit. Actually, so the ways he has, sorry, I didn't say the name. We have Padan Fain following them into the ways. You hear his whistle a couple times, I think, while they're walking through. And you see him very briefly in flashes of lightning and whatnot. And of course, this is the episode where they reveal that the Dark One is moving armies through the ways. I don't know if Padan Fain is leading them or whatever. I think it's the implication. But either way, the Trollocs are in the ways, which is crazy to think about for everybody involved. And they're defacing guidings, trying to prevent people from being able to traverse the ways, so that they can use them to spring up out of nowhere in the middle of the country and stuff like that, and then disappear just as easily and not get caught. It's a very smart strategy, to be honest, but it does mean that we have the revelation of how they made it to the two rivers undetected, without any of the countries they would have to normally travel through, raising up an army to fight them back. So I'm sure we're gonna get more of that in future seasons, of course. We also, once they got out of the ways, I a little bit wanted the ways to last a bit longer. If I remember correctly, in the books, they were in there for days. They were camping out in the ways. It was a long time that they were in there. obviously not a long time. Like, it wasn't like a month, but it was at least a few, like at least like a week in the ways, if I remember correctly. And they were like going to the different islands and stuff like that, and then we were learning more about the ways, and it's a little bit trippier and stuff like that. There's some differences, but and I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, they brought their horses in. The horses could go into the ways. They changed that for the show. But once we got to Faldara, then we got to meet a new kind of culture, a new area, the Borderlands, which is where Lan is from, but he's from a different country in the Borderlands. So the Borderlands are like a group of lords and like countries. I don't want to say countries because it's not exactly countries. It's like fiefdoms. It's like a group of fiefdoms that border like the Dark One's forces and the rest of, the land, and and their duty or their cultures are all built around the idea that they are the first line of defense against the dark. So they all just constantly are fighting like Trollocs and the Blight and just the fiends that come out of the Dark One's like territory. So that's basically what it is. So of course we learn more about Lan, and that he came from a place called Malkier, which a kingdom called Malkier, and he was the crown prince, but his whole family, everything was overrun by the Blight, and his family was killed, and he had to be secreted away. And I can't exactly remember how old he was in the books. I know right now in the show he's probably around, like now he's probably close to 40, if not 40, maybe 35, 40, close to 40. And so I'm not sure how old he was when it all happened, but I'm gonna guess about 30 years before, 20 to 30 years before. So I forgot what I was gonna say. I was just gonna trying to think of a timeline of how long ago his Malkier fell, because I can't remember. I'm terrible with dates. I'm terrible with dates in real life. Like fantasy dates, don't even ask me. They'd have to say the dates over and over again for me to remember them. Like the 3,000 years since the last age. That is easy for me to remember because they constantly talk about how long ago the last age was. But so we got to learn a little bit more about Lan. We got to meet some of his people, the remnants of his people, with his armsmen and his armsmen's family and everything like that. And there was such a cute scene of seeing how he is with his people and how much his people love him and adore him. Even though they're all, refugees in Faldara and everything like that. They've kind of settled in, and he's very caring with them. Even though he is their prince and he's a little bit removed from them, he's not like arrogant or anything like that with them. They clearly love him and revere him. But they're still comfortable enough to invite him around their fire and say, hey, sit down and let's have some grub. And the kids obviously love him. So it's just like a really sweet scene, and we get to see Nynaeve witness this and very clearly fall even more in love with this man. And I genuinely think if that scene hadn't been there, then she would not have later decided to go ahead and just step in and pursue him. Just a really cool, really good scene, and look at Lan and his whole like history, seeing him open up. We do get the conversation between him and Nynaeve where she kind of finally talks about some of the things that she feels about Moiraine and Lan and their bond. She does have a lot of insecurity about that bond. Very clearly understandable. The man you're falling in love with has a deep soul bond with somebody else. She's just been spending so much time with the warders, and the first thing that the warders say to her is, there's no bond as strong as an Aes Sedai and her warder, not husband and wife, not parent and child. That was like one of the first things that she learned about the Aes Sedai and warder bond. So of course, if she falls in love with somebody who has an Aes Sedai bond, she's going to feel super insecure about that. And then that's on top of the fact that she doesn't like Aes Sedai from the jump. And she is always button heads with Moiraine because they both have super strong personalities. And they're both super stubborn in completely different ways, but they're both really stubborn and headstrong. So it's like all of these things are bubbling up, and she finally talks to Lan about it. But I like the way they handle the conversation, because like I mentioned during the actual scene, I really like the way they write Lan navigating Nynaeve's, I don't want to say, this isn't necessarily a sample of her hypocrisy, but it is a little bit of a sample of her sometimes unreasonableness. Like, she's not super unreasonable here. It's completely understandable why you would feel insecure about that bond when you're falling in love with somebody who's in one. But she also, is coming from it with a lot more anger than I think she really normally would be if she wasn't being also unreasonable about Moiraine in several ways. And her mistrust of Moiraine, because she has this, preconceived idea about Aes Sedai that she got from her mentor. Now, don't get me wrong. The Aes Sedai are some trash sometimes. But Moiraine has not necessarily proven herself to be a piece of shit or anything. She's very clearly squirrely, and she has her own agenda, and she uses the truth to mask lies that she wants to tell, that kind of thing. Even though she can't speak a word she can't speak a lie, she does obfuscate the truth quite often. It's very clear that she does. So it's not a completely baseless distrust that she has of Moiraine, but she is a little bit unreasonable with her. But yeah, I think because she has all of that, it's making her jealousy about the bond a little bit stronger. But I really like the way that Lan handles that jealousy in that scene. Yeah, just really love them together. They just balance each other, and they make each other better as characters. Really like them a lot. We get to see Lan open up and be more gentle and be more willing to talk about his past and things like that. Soften up a lot more. And in a way that he doesn't with Moiraine, because Moiraine knows everything about him and she can feel everything about him. So he has absolutely no need to be open with her because she already knows everything about him. Whereas with Nynaeve, he actually has to make an effort to be softer. Like with Moiraine, he doesn't have to make an effort to share his feelings because she can feel what he's feeling, Maybe not to the extent that he can feel her, but she knows what he's feeling. But with Nynaeve, he has to actually make an effort. He has to be pulled from his comfort zone to talk about himself, which I really, really like. So we get him actually opening up, and then we get her being confronted about what she really feels without the bluster, without the anger, and she gets to soften up too. So they just work together really well. It's a good pairing. It's a really good pairing from the books, and it's being translated beautifully to the show with additional scenes that aren't from the books, but I think enrich their relationship much more. Anyway, yeah. So we got a lot of that. Now let's get into Min and Rand and backstory and the dragon reveal, all of that. So we meet Min. We get to see a new power in this world. You'll notice, of course, you have the one power with Moiraine, the Aes Sedai, the channelers, with the men who can channel, all of that. That's like one type of magic in this world. And then you have the stuff that's not that, the outliers. We have Perrin, who has the wolf ability, the ability, you know, to talk or channel wolf sense and all that stuff. I guess this is a slight spoiler, but that's separate from the one power. It's different. It's a different kind of power. Min's power is also the same. It's also separate from the one power. It's just different, and it functions in a different way. And I don't remember all the details of that, but I do remember that there's some stuff that's in this world that's not necessarily from the one power. Let's just put it like that. So we get to see Min's visions realized on screen. I really like the way they do that. And I like the way she's being portrayed as kind of like a fed up she's like a fed up bartender who's heard it all before and is tired of it and is tired of all of it. And so obviously there's some kind of relationship between her and Moiraine, and Moiraine is like low-key kind of threatening her and extorting her. Like, it's very uncomfortable to watch, actually. And so Min is kind of forced to look at the Edmonds Fielders and reveal that they are all cosmically connected. That they are connected in the pattern. They all have really strong visions, which means they're super important to the pattern. They all have some kind of intertwined destiny. And I imagine if Matt was there, she would see the same with Matt, that all 5 of them are interlinked. And of course she has different visions for each of them. Interesting that we only see Perrin and Rand's visions. But when she goes to Nynaeve and Egwene, we just hear about them. I think that's a very deliberate choice, and it's not just like so that they can save some money on the budget. I think it's a deliberate choice. Like, we don't see Moraine's either. We just hear the description of them. So I think those both are very deliberate choices that I think has more. It's not just about the budget, because obviously, yeah, it's not just about the budget. I think it's a storytelling choice. Maybe it's to prevent certain spoilers and things like that. I don't know. It's interesting. I just find it interesting. We do, however, because I just remembered, in the next episode, we do see her have an immediate vision about Nynaeve, but it's like a vision. It's not a far off vision. Like, I feel like the others were like a little bit more esoteric, a little bit more about their later journey. Obviously we see the baby with Rand, so we know that that's from the last episode, his test or whatever. Whereas the one she has in the next episode with Nynaeve is like, what is going to happen today? You know, it's super immediate, so we don't get any kind of hints of their future. Other than what she says, which are very vague things. It was like a ring of gold and, you know, stuff like that. We also later on get Rand coming to her to kind of confront what he now believes is true, but he needs like a second opinion on it. Because he's in denial about it. What we learn in this episode is that he's been in denial this whole season that he's the dragon, and that everything that he's been doing, lashing out at Moiraine, lashing out at Egwene, going back and forth with Egwene, she's like a source of comfort for him, of familiarity. The way he's been so uncomfortable going on this adventure and so, you know, determined to stay with the team no matter what and cling to the team no matter what. And that's because he's feeling unmoored himself, that he is in this unfamiliar environment and he feels like his life is spiraling out of control. It was already out of his control when Egwene broke up with him in the beginning of the season. He doesn't do well with change, very clearly. She broke up with him and it threw him, and then the Trollocs attacked and that threw him, and then his dad told him that you're actually not my son. That threw him, and then he realized over the course of the journey that he could channel. That threw him. That he's the dragon. That threw him. Like, it's just one thing after another that's like making him feel like he can't get his bearings. So of course, this is the culmination of it. He kind of sits there and it's not that he realizes in this moment. It's more like he's known all along and he can't ignore it anymore. And it's just that the audience is supposed to realize in this moment. I mean, obviously anybody who's genre savvy knows that the white redhead boy is going to be the chosen one. Like, we all know the tropes. We know how writers write. So it wasn't, I'm not saying that the mystery didn't work, but I'm just saying that I can definitely see a lot of people just obviously it's Rand. So it's not so much a reveal as a confirmation of what a lot of people probably already suspected. You know, some people, you know, had fun with the mystery and stuff like that. So I respect the show for creating a mystery for the audience, for TV audiences, giving them something to kind of debate about and stuff like that online. Although it's very clear that they were not going to change who the dragon was from the books. It's just not it's not that kind of adaptation. So I didn't have I had absolutely zero fear that they were going to change who the dragon is. And anybody who genuinely thought that they were going to change who the dragon was, I can't take you seriously, to be honest. But we get the opening scene with Shael during her fight, and we get Min kind of reiterating, because after this, oh no, I'm really the dragon. I didn't talk about this. Machin Shen. I don't love two decisions with this reveal. I don't love that they showed us him doing the weaves when before we didn't see the weaves and now we do. Didn't love that, because I've mentioned this before, we didn't have more scenes of us seeing the weaves and not seeing the weaves, and seeing the weaves and not seeing the weaves in certain circumstances. And I genuinely think that scene would have played better if we had a more of an understanding of who could see the weaves and who can't. And we, the audience, were put in a position where sometimes we see them and sometimes we don't. They had a little bit of it in the very first episode where we didn't see Liandrin's weaves when she went to go attack the random dude who can channel. We didn't see her weaves there. And I feel like there was one other place where we didn't see the weave. I mean, technically we didn't see the weave when Moiraine heated up the bathtub. So there were little scenes like that, but I don't think they were pronounced enough for us to understand that sometimes people just don't see the weaves. Like normal people can't see it at all. I think we needed a clear understanding of that. And I've pointed out how in episode 4, I think they could have done that with Steppen, to both make Steppen seem like less of an idiot, and also to make sure that the audience understands that some people can see the weaves and some people can't. They had Moiraine mention that she can't see Loghain's weaves, but we had no concept of that, you know? So like, I just think that part of it could have been done better and paced better throughout the season, to make this reveal feel less cheap, because it felt like it was kind of cheap that, you saw this scene but you didn't see the weaves, you know? That felt a bit cheap because we hadn't had a situation that was that pronounced before. So that I would have probably wanted to change. The other thing, I didn't love the Machin Shin thing where we hear Machin Shin speak to Rand and say one thing, and then in the flashback that happens like 10 minutes later, we see them say something else, you know, or not necessarily something different, but something more. I didn't love that. And I didn't love that Machin Shin like said, "You are the Dragon Reborn." I actually would have preferred if they had said something a little less on the nose and maybe more vague or cutting to him. Like maybe like, "You're going to kill all of your family." Because that's the thing that we know that the dragon did in the past. Is that I maybe add a scene early in the season where maybe the Cariathan cycle, he reads a little bit of the Cariathan cycle or something like that, or reads a little bit of the history, and that's how we find out that the dragon killed his whole family. So Machin Shin in this moment could say, "You're gonna kill your whole family just like you did before," and that be the reveal or something, or that be something that he says in the first. I don't know. I just think that could have been done other than saying, Machin Shin saying, "You're the dragon. You know that you're the Dragon Reborn." I was like, come on. Let it be something that that they hint at and then he has to come to terms with, but isn't so, you know, blatant. That's something I would have changed, personally. But anyway, it happened, whatever. It's in the bag. We get the scene with him going to Min to kind of get a second opinion, a final word that, yes, am I the dragon? And he asks point blank, am I the dragon? I think that's a better place to put the, "Yes, you are the dragon," and have Min say it. Or not necessarily that, but have him say it. "I am the dragon." And then Min reveals that her first vision she ever had was of Rand being born. Now I wonder if that happens in real time, because Rand is about 20. So, and Min, I would say, is probably about 30, 25, 30. So maybe it happens in real time. So it's not like she saw a vision of the past. She saw it in the present, if I remember correctly. I think that's how it was in the books too, but I can't remember fully. But she has the vision in the present. So she's a little bit older than Rand, obviously. And it's just such a good interaction between them. I really like it. It's different from their first interaction in the books. Obviously, anybody who's read the books knows exactly how they interact. And I actually don't love it. I don't love how they start off in the books. I'm going to be honest. I like their relationship later, but I don't love the first meeting in the books between those two. So I actually genuinely like the show in that aspect better. That scene better. I don't always love the way Robert Jordan utilized Min's visions to... I don't want to go into that because that's a bit of a spoiler. But there's other things that I didn't love about some of the way her visions were used in the books that I wish Robert Jordan had done a little differently. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. It doesn't matter. It already happened. He's already written it, and it's fine. But in the show, I like the way she talks to him about her vision. And the, rainbows and carnivals and 3 beautiful women. Love that line. And then, he asks whether or not he's going to survive the eye, but of course she can't answer that because any answer about that would influence the outcome. So, but yeah. So, and then we have him, resign to his fate and deciding that yes, he's going to go to the eye, and he doesn't want anybody else to die over it, but he doesn't want to tell them the truth about who he is and what he is. So he goes to Moiraine alone, and they set off. So yeah, let's go ahead and end this discussion here. I actually talked quite a lot about this episode, even though it's not one of my favorites. But I just had a lot to say about the end of the season as we approach it. So there's that. Yeah, feel free to like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. As always, you can go to the Patreon to get full length and other stuff that I can't release on YouTube. Anything that I can release on YouTube, I will do my best to do. But if I can't, then it'll be on my Patreon. All right, we're going to jump into the finale, and we're going to finish out the season. I'm ready. See you guys next time.
Whatever, all this ever, but you long gone, it don't matter.